Good afternoon and welcome back to another video. How are we all doing? All good, I hope? Oh my days, has it got cold in the UK at the moment. I left the house about 20 minutes ago and the temperature's about 3 degrees out, so yeah, super cold. But at least it's not raining. But today's video is mainly going to be aimed at people that are looking to buy a Surron or have just got a Surron and just starting this journey with it. But yeah, I'm going to be looking at how much these things are to buy. And then once you've actually bought one, the costs that are involved thereafter. Because if you've seen any of my videos, you know that riding one of these is only half the fun. The other half comes in actually modifying this thing. But I think that's why the Surron really stands out compared to some of the other bikes on the market. It's just the amount of availability for aftermarket parts and modifications that you can do with this thing. So let's start from the beginning. Let's buy the bike. So buying the bike. So if you're buying one of these brand new, you're looking at a price of around $4,000 to $4,500. Second hand now, you're probably going to pick one of these up for around, say, $3,000 to $3,500 for a decent one. The prices of second-hand Surrons really seems to be coming down, and I guess that's with the release of the new Surrons plus the new Talarias. You can now get some really good deals. So now you've got your Surron, I think everyone falls victim in this, that you've got your Surron, you think it's going to be fast enough, you think it's going to be good enough. You go out riding it a couple of times and then you meet up with other people that have done a few modifications to their bikes, and you soon realise that you can't keep up with them. They don't look quite as nice. So you go home, jump online late at night and start putting some orders in. Now you've just spent all the money out on the bike, so you're not looking to spend loads of money. So some of the normal upgrades you're looking to buy, just to get a little bit more torque, maybe a little bit more power. Most people look at getting a sprocket. So the sprocket, on average, looking around sort of 50 quid. And once you've got your sprocket, you realise you need a new chain with it, so you're adding another 12 to 15 pounds on. And there we are, we're happy. And then you're tinkering in the garage and you realise actually your Surron looks like every other Surron. So you start taking the graphics off. And before you know it, you've then gone and spent £120 to £150 on a new graphics kit. But then we realise we start riding a bit off-road and we start doing a couple of jumps and we realise that the pegs that come on the stock Surron are not the best in the world. Your feet keep slipping off, they're not very comfortable on a long ride, so we go ahead and upgrade the pegs. Pegs that are sort of an average cost looking around 40 quid. You take it out for a rip in the woods and you come back and it's absolutely filthy. There's mud and grit all in your rear shock. Your brand new chain's been absolutely caked in mud. So we then realise that we need a mud guard. So with this you've got the hugger mud guard that just goes right close to the back wheel. And then obviously you've got the material mud guard that comes down from the seat down to the rear swing arm. So the hugger mud guard, I think you're looking around sort of £20 for those. And the material guard, I think they're around 15. So your really expensive purchase of your Surron has just gone up massively, just in these few little modifications and little tweaks that you want to make to the bike. Now, I'm not saying that everybody goes ahead and does these upgrades, they certainly don't. I know a lot of guys that still ride with the stock pegs that haven't put any sort of graphics on their bike or anything like that. And it's not for everyone, but I do find that when you get these bikes, they're so easy to work on and they're so easy to look nice and get performing really well that the majority of people do start spending out. Now at this point, most people are happy. But you've really fallen in love with this thing and you love riding it. You now want to buy a few parts that make it a little bit more comfortable to ride. So I guess the next couple of mods just depend on the size of the rider. For me, these were quite essential parts. I was fortunate enough that mine came with these bits when I bought it second hand, but if I'd bought it brand new or I'd bought a bike that didn't have these were definitely upgrades that I would have had to have done. So first one being the riser bars. I found the stock bars, I did put them back on, but I found them so low and I did find it a really uncomfortable ride. This was probably the fact that my bike also came with the riser kit. So the seat was really high, the bars were really low, wasn't a really good combination. And vice versa, I did take the seat riser kit off just to see how it rode. And again, I found the seat was just pushing me forwards into the bars. Even if I had the riser bars on and the seat kit off, I still find it a really, really uncomfortable ride. I'm around 6 foot, so I guess average sort of size male, but I definitely find the riser bars and the seat riser kit, they complement each other really well. So for me, it was an absolute must. But then that also comes with a cost. So you're now looking at £50 for the bars, and probably £150 for the riser seat. I think the particular kit that I've got on mine is probably a little bit more expensive. It's by Milk Racing, but doing a little bit of research online, you're sort of looking at an average of about 150 quid. So you can see how quickly this really starts to ramp up. So the next thing I found when I started riding places like this, especially coming into this time of year as well, is the traction. I had a real issue with traction, and if you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see numerous times I was falling off the bike. So the next upgrade then would be looking at new tyres. Now the tyres that come on the stock Surron aren't the best in the world. They do wear out quite quickly, and they're not as knobbly as some of the other ones that are on the market. So I opted for the Maxxis rear tyre, pretty hard wearing and not too badly priced either. So I think the price of the Maxxis came in around sort of 60 quid. I only found that I had an issue with the rear tyre getting traction. The front's never been too bad, but as I am riding this more and more often now, I am looking again to change tyres, and I am going to go for an even wider tyre. So keep an eye out for a future video on that. But the other thing that I really found that the Surron lacks is a decent set of brakes. And you'll see this on all the forums, and anyone you speak to, if you've got a Surron, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. I think out of everything on this bike, the brakes were the one thing that I really disliked. I tried everything. I tried the Shimano brake pads, I tried upgrading the rotors, but the only thing that works on these bikes is to completely change the brake system. So I went for the Hopetech 4s. Now, I would say in terms of quality and price of brakes available for the Surron, they're probably at the higher end. But I think where I had such a hatred for the brakes that were on the Surron, I think the cost for me was irrelevant. I just needed something that was going to work and be good. I only wanted to make this purchase once. I didn't want to skimp out on buying these brakes and have to upgrade them in the future. I just wanted to do this the once. So I went for the Hopetech V4s. And I can hand on heart say it's probably one of the best purchases that I've made for this bike. I've had zero issues with them, and they perform every single time. But like I was saying, they do come at a cost, and I think I paid around £360. But in my mind, well worth it. I'd say they're the bulk of your main upgrades that you'd probably be looking to do. After those ones, it's just going to be the little details, like key ignition plates, little things like that, little anodised parts that people like to put on these. And they're not massively expensive, but when you start falling into the trap of adding more and more and more, your key ignition plate, £30, your controller cover, £50-60, a new stem, anywhere from 30 to 50. You've got little accessories like the spoke covers I put on here. They're not massively expensive, but all these little things do start to add up. I think they were around sort of £8 to £10. But kickstands, another 30 quid. A few carbon accessories, again, all adds on to the price. And then obviously it starts to get really serious, depending on how far you really want to get into this. So then you've got the really big ticket items, and what I'm talking about there is your battery and controller, and sometimes even the motor as well. So let's start with controllers. Controllers, you're probably looking anywhere from around sort of 900 up to around sort of 1500, depending on the Torp or BAC. There's tons of controllers on the market out there. And then you've got the minefield of batteries as well. So batteries, you're looking anywhere from sort of 2,000 up to 3,500. So this is where it gets really expensive. But I think these are for the really serious die-hard Surron riders. You definitely don't need to do half of these upgrades. These bikes are perfectly good enough without them. But you can see how quickly it really can get out of control. Oh, state of this bike, man. What a mess. And then I'd say final costings. Like you can see, the bike is absolutely filthy. You spent all that money on a bike, you want it to be nice and clean and tidy, you want it to perform right, so you've got a couple of little maintenance parts that you're going to need to buy, i.e. some decent wash and wax, decent cleaner, some lubricant for the train, but you could pretty much get set up with all of that for around 20 to 30 quid. Things like a pressure washer would really help, but again, a bit of elbow grease is not massively needed, but it is a nice luxury to have. And then the final part would be the actual running cost, so how much it costs to charge one of these. And this is probably the best bit. One of the beauties of having this is they are super cheap to run. My bike cost me around 34p to get a full charge, so that really is one of the best bits. So there we are then, guys. I'm going to call the end of the video there. But just to recap, I'm not saying that if you buy a Surron, you will definitely have to spend all this money on it, and you'll definitely be a poor man by the end of it. But I would say, from people I talk to online and in the community and people that I ride with, I'd say that these are all pretty typical scenarios. Of course, you could buy this and be absolutely happy with the way it performs and the way it rides and the way it looks, and not have to spend a penny on it, and I'm sure there are people out there that do that. It just certainly wasn't the case for me. But as always, thank you ever so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit that like button, and whilst you're there, go ahead and subscribe as well. But yeah, cheers guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.